The Town of Grand Bay-Westfield Planning Advisory Committee would like to call to order the meeting of Monday, March 20th, 2023. Land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the Grand Bay-Westfield exists on traditional Woolastook Way land. The lands of the Wakanaki people are recognized in a series of peace and friendship treaties to establish an ongoing relationship of peace, friendship, and mutual respect between the people nations. The river that runs by our town is known as the Woolastook, along which live the Woolastookie people of a beautiful and bountiful river. We, the staff and elected representatives, pay respect to the elders, past and present, and descendants of this land. Item number 2, record of attendance. Can I have a motion to excuse Kelly Thompson and Kathy Fawcett with cause?
So moved.
So, motion made by Teresa, seconded by Andrew. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 3, PAC meeting minutes of February 6, 2023. Can I have a motion to accept as presented the PAC meeting minutes of February 6, 2023?
So moved.
Second.
Questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 4, regular council meeting minutes of January 23rd, February 7th, and February 21st, 2023. Can I have a motion to receive and file the regular council meeting minutes of January 23rd, February 7th, and February 21st, 2023?
I'll move to receive and file the regular council meeting minutes of January 23rd, February 7th, and February 21st, 2023.
Seconder?
I second.
Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Chairman's remarks? I have no remarks this evening. Item 6, building permit report, February 23, 2023. Can I have a motion to receive and file building permit report for 2023?
So moved.
Seconder?
I'll second.
Questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Conditional use approval, cannabis retail sales, 441 Woolastook Drive. The applicant, Chris Jones, has joined us via Zoom. Mr. Jones is seeking approval for conditional use for a cannabis retail sales store to be located at 441 Woolastook Drive. Anybody speaking, please come to the podium, state your name and address and purpose for your application.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'm just going to recuse myself from voting on this agenda item because I do feel like I have a conflict of interest.
Okay.
But I will go sit over here.
Okay.
Should we make sure we can hear Mr. Jones and he can hear us?
Yes. Mr. Jones, can you hear us?
He's muted.
Hello, Mr. Jones.
Hey, I don't know what's happening with the Zoom.
Well, as long as we got the audio, we're good to go.
Okay, great. So can you do it on the phone, I guess?
I believe that's how we're gonna do it.
Okay, great. So who, is there a few of you gathered around?
The PAC committee people are here. Councillor Jim Belcom, member Philip Reeves, member Andrew Miller, myself, Chair Jim Burke. You spoke to David Taylor, our development officer,
Yep.
and our administrative officer, Heather Shannon, and committee member Teresa Gordon, she has conflict with interest with the article, so she has stepped into the gallery, and there's 2 people in the gallery, or 3, I guess, 3 people. But I guess we'll let them introduce themselves as they speak, and we'll go from there. So,
Are you able to tell me what the conflict is with them not being able to join?
no, it's something to do with the visual system. We've had 2 or 3 people looking at it in the last few minutes, and it's just something that's not right tonight, I guess.
Okay, no problem. So I guess I'm gonna get started.
Yep.
Okay, great. Well, thank you everyone for putting together this meeting last minute. I know it's a Monday night, it's a little bit later over there than it is over here, where I am in Ontario. I wanted to do this in person, but I'm very, very sick right now. I don't know if it's a cold or what it is, but I was planning on coming out to meet everyone in person, which I hope to one day. Thank you for allowing me to do this things virtually for the time being. Before I go through the application, I wanted to give everyone some background information on myself. I know I've spoken with you before. You probably know a little bit more about me than others. And I wanted to just provide some nice background, some context to all of this. So I live in Ontario. I have a chain of 14 stores in Ontario. Most of them are in small to medium-sized towns, so I'm familiar with opening up towns. Some of the places I'm in, one of the towns actually has the smallest population. I believe it's about 67, which seems very small, but it's near like a lake where a lot of people pass by and look for cottages. Most of my stores are in very small towns. I also have some of the smallest cannabis stores in the country. One of them is 300 square feet, the other one's 353, so those are the two smallest ones. I've been in the industry for several years. I had another cannabis retail chain before I opened up this one, but the business came to be when licensing opened up, and I saw an opportunity where everyone was opening up stores in the largest towns, which got very saturated very quickly. So my strategy was to open up in smaller towns, keep the cost down as low as possible, have a limited SKU assortment, so not having vans, and then employ people in that town to work in the store. Because obviously, if someone lives in the town, it just makes everything a lot easier. They can, get to work a lot easier, and we're familiar with, the people that live there as well. So I've expanded pretty quickly. In about 2 years, I've opened up the 14 stores. They're doing well. And then when I saw the opportunity to apply to open up stores in New Brunswick, so that came about 5 months ago, I'd say. And then it was sort of like a government RFQ process, so I applied for all 10. So in New Brunswick, there was 10 applications that were open. I applied for all 10, and then I actually won all 10. So it was right around Christmas, a couple days before the past Christmas, campus Post called me, and they said, hey, you scored #1 on every single application, and you can only pick 3, because there's a cap of ownership of one person, individual, corporation can only own 30% of the total. So I went to New Brunswick, and I already had an idea in mind which towns I wanted based on population, proximity to each other, which is helpful for sharing staff members between the stores. So I came out and drove to all of the cities that were listed, all the towns, and I picked the 3 that I thought were going to be the most favorable. Which ended up being, Grand Bay, which, beautiful, beautiful town. The other one was St. Andrews, and the third final one is Hampton. So all 3 obviously are, close in proximity to each other, near St. John, which is nice. Which leads me to, the application being presented tonight. So I'm in contact with David Taylor and a few, other people in the town, just it's a pretty lengthy process in terms of gathering the required documents from the town, as well as ticking every box that cannabis New Brunswick requires. And I've done this so many times now, opening up stores, that the cannabis aspect licensing isn't as challenging for me in terms of making sure the area is secure, getting security cameras, hiring, training people, etc. Like we already have someone picked out, to work at one of the stores in New Brunswick, which is nice. So I guess the purpose of tonight, thank you again for allowing me to do this virtually, is to present this application. So basically the address that was submitted, 441 Willistock Drive. This was the location that we picked. There's a few restrictions, both from Cannabis New Brunswick and the town regulations in terms of where the location can be. So I made sure that it's far away enough from all schools, churches, which was verified as well by David Taylor, which was helpful. So it meets that criteria. And then obviously, since this is I guess a new use, this application was being submitted because currently cannabis sales is not a permitted use, but rather a conditional use, which requires approval from the BC committee. So that was the purpose of submitting that application, was to get TAC to provide us with the approval to use this location to open up a licensed cannabis retail store. And so I submitted the application with all our documents, and if there's anything that I guess was submitted that I need to that anyone has any questions about or anything, happy to answer them. So I'm not sure on the exact process of what else I need to mention for this application. If there's any questions from anyone, or if there's anything that I need to review, please let me know.
Alrighty, well, I'm gonna turn it over to the floor here and see if any of the committee members have any questions for you. Any questions for Mr. Jones?
Yeah, and we have pictures of the building you're intending to use. It's an upper and lower level, and where exactly in the building are you proposing to have this business?
So the building, it kind of looks like a house when you see it on a map. Basically, there's, I want to say lower floor, but I guess it's the one that's, I guess it is kind of the lower one, but it's not a basement. So I'd say the lower floor will be used as the store, and then the upper floor will not be used as the store. That'll be something different.
What's the intended use of the upper floor?
So from my conversations with the landlord, Stephanie, right now I don't believe anyone's renting it right now, but I'm sure that, I guess with the zoning, it's, I believe, mixed use, so it's, I believe eventually she wants to rent it out as like a residential, so the top floor will be residential, and then the main or bottom floor will be the cannabis retail store.
Does that answer your question?
So if the top floor is residential, it'll have nothing to do, the people living there will have nothing to do with the business?
Yeah, exactly. So they'll both have separate, they currently do have separate entrances and exits. And yeah, the people won't have anything to do with the business. Like currently, a few of my locations right now, in Ontario, have been like stacked. Like, for example, the first one I opened here, my landlord lives above the store, in kind of like a stacked townhouse. So I'm familiar with being very close in proximity with the landlord and close with other people as well. And I do want to mention the most important thing is I've had my stores open for over 2 years now, and I haven't had a single break-in, robbery, any type of problem in the store, or the police had to be called or anything like that. which I don't know how many people can say that, but yeah, we keep everything like extremely safe and secure. And obviously, if there was any issue, then we would make any necessary changes required.
Okay.
How did you come to choose this particular location?
So I guess a few things. So one challenge I've been having, which is not just a challenge with Grand Bay, it's a challenge with the other towns as well, is that there is a very limited number of commercial buildings to rent. St. Andrews, Hampton, still going through the same thing, where there's so many businesses that now are moving to these towns, and there's nothing available. So in terms of this location, first, whenever I try and find a location to rent, I first make sure that it meets all of the regulatory requirements. So I went through and made sure it's not too close to any schools, not close to any churches. So once that was done, then I made sure that it was zoned properly, so that we could actually put a store in there. And then after that, I came out to visit, and I met with Stephanie, the landlord. Very friendly. She gave me a tour of the location. I met the criteria in terms of being big enough, because part of the application that I submitted to Cannabis New Brunswick was it was like a very detailed RFQ where I had to write down how many parking spots are there going to be, how many what's the square footage of the store, what are my SOPs for operations and things like that. So there was a lot of information that I submitted I guess prior to hunting for a location that I needed to have for the location. So when I came across that one, I looked at probably I think 4 locations in Grand Bay until this one seemed to be the best of all of them. And then obviously in terms of the location, I think it's on a good spot. There's a big, pretty decent sized parking lot. It's on a main street as well. So I think the location is a good one, as well as meeting all the regulatory requirements from my end, and then having a good landlord is important as well. So that was the main, those are the main ways that I found a location. But generally looking at all these towns right now, it's very challenging to find commercial buildings for lease. And then there's obviously a large education curve when it comes to meeting with a landlord and explaining to them that this is a new license, and just running them through the whole business, because it's not like if selling t-shirts and selling cannabis, it's not very complicated once the store's open. But there's it's something completely new, so the education component is pretty big. So Stephanie was great, the landlord over there, and she understood it all. So that's usually the criteria that I go through. But generally speaking, it is a bit challenging to find potential locations for rent in some of these towns. But it's a good problem to have when a lot of people want to move in, right?
You don't see any problems being in a residential area, in a business like this?
No, I don't think so. I think, a lot of, so the current stores that I have, so I have 14 in Ontario right now. I have some that are in very, very pockets of residential areas, and then some that aren't. And, I think when I speak to, because in Ontario we go through a process during licensing called the public notice period, where we have to post this big piece of paper on the window for a few weeks, and then anyone that lives in the area can send in an email and submit a complaint if they have a complaint. And most of the complaints, sometimes I get none, sometimes I get a few, but generally the complaint that I usually get is from people who have no prior experience with cannabis, and they think they just think it's something a lot worse than what it is. I think luckily in New Brunswick, obviously there's 25 government stores, so maybe some of you have seen them or not like in my opinion, I think alcohol is a bigger like if someone's drinking too much alcohol or that creates more problems than cannabis in my own personal opinion. But the biggest complaint usually from anyone who lives in the area is they think people are gonna buy a product and then go outside and get high and do something stupid, which honestly never happens. I think most people shop for cannabis like they shop for other kind of products. Like if you go into the store, you buy a bottle of wine, you go in, you buy your bottle of wine, and then you leave and go home. I think 99% of people don't open up a bottle of wine right in front of the store and start drinking. That's never happened to us where people start consuming the product right outside the store, and then we have part of our training process, and we'll have our employees just go outside and tell that person to leave, or we can refuse to serve them again if that happens. So luckily that's never happened to us. But we train our employees really well to deal with that kind of stuff. In terms of answering your question about issues being near residential homes, it's if you look at a map of Grand Bay, so part of the application process through Cannabis New Brunswick, there was a map where Cannabis New Brunswick said we have to open up the store. So if you look at the map that they gave us, because it doesn't include all of Grand Bay, it includes most of it, and then if you plot in where all the schools and churches are, and then you draw big circles around them, which indicate the distancing required. There's a very limited number of locations that end up being available. So I think where a lot of these stores are going to end up is going to be near where people live. But I've never had any problems with once we open up, usually those people come in and meet us. They see they're nice people. It's completely legal, etc. So I find that having a store in town, like there's reports, I read a lot of reports on what's happening with cannabis stores globally, but in the U.S. there's a lot of reports that come out from Colorado who's had stores for at least 8 years, and it shows that having a cannabis store in an area reduces crime significantly, and as well because there's security cameras inside, people generally behave better around the store, and it also reduces criminal activity of people selling cannabis as well. So there's a lot of other positive community benefits for people who are consumers as well. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, thanks.
Or just a little bit scratchy, still sick.
Any more questions for Mr. Jones?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Hello, Mr. Jones. I'll direct my questions through the chair. Can you hear me okay, Mr. Jones?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Fantastic. It's Jim Balcom speaking. I have a question regarding the proximity of an existing school bus stop to the proposed property. And I'm curious if the peak periods of time that you're open would enable and have a lot of customers there during those peak times. That would be between 8 and 9 in the morning, and also between 2 and 4 in the afternoon.
So generally, looking at the current store hours that we use in Ontario, we find that generally, the highest, the most volume of sales that we have generally happen when people finish work. So it usually is after 5 p.m. We have some stores, my busier stores are open until 11 p.m. And then my not so busy stores in much smaller towns are only open until 8 p.m. So generally, I'd say the peak sale hours are after 6 p.m. 6 to 8 p.m. are generally when people purchase the most. And then also we're restricted by Cannabis New Brunswick in terms of the hours that And it depends on obviously the store volume, the time of year. Like in summer, it might be busier. In the winter, not so much. Generally, what we were thinking was we would open up around like 11 a.m., 11 to 12 p.m. And then we would probably close like 8 to 9 p.m. at night. So I think in the morning, it would, with the morning time you suggested with the bus stop, it would pretty much completely avoid that. And then, we would be open during the afternoon time that you mentioned, but that generally isn't really like a peak time. And I think as well, like even, thinking of like when I was a kid, growing up, like my dad would bring me to the beer store and the liquor store all the time. And I think, I don't know how many people have kids, but I think, I don't have children myself, but hiding and restricting things usually leads to, more curiosity. And I think if things are talked about early on enough, I'm not saying that, children at the post office need to be educated on this, but, each individual family, like when, I'm sure there's going to be questions about it. When people talk about these things, whatever point in time, when it is the right time, that it makes people, I guess, less curious about it. Like I think, even when I was younger, I remember, being at like the dinner table with like all the adults, and like they would give me like a sip of beer, and like having that when I was, obviously pretty young, didn't really, like when I got older, it didn't really make me like that interested in it because it was kind of always around. But like the bus stop thing, it's like we that is a challenging thing because we're obviously restricted in terms of where we can put the store, and I think there's probably going to be some sort of bus stop in most places if we were to select a different location, but we don't allow anyone under the age to come into the store. We have someone standing in front of the store that checks the ID of everyone that comes in. So, if someone young wanted to try and, come in, then, they obviously wouldn't be allowed to come in and purchase products. And that is like, one thing that we take very seriously is, minors entering the store. We've never once had an issue with that in over 2 years in Ontario with a minor making a purchase in any of our stores. That's something like we're very, very zero tolerance on that. If I guess there was like a very busy time where people were coming in and it did pose some problem with like students walking or crossing or something like that, then we would make any modification as needed. But from what I'm seeing now, like a lot of my stores do have bus stops, not just for children but adults as well near them, and we've never had any issues in terms of like safety of the drivers. Like, and I don't think there's going to be like a gigantic influx of people driving to the store at a certain time. Usually it happens after work and on weekends. So I think the peak times that you mentioned will be avoided. But if there ever was any issue, like I'm very easy to reach, and obviously like I want this to be a win for everyone. I don't want any issues with any local residents or anything like that. So if there needed to be any changes made on my end, I would be happy to make any accommodation and get that satisfies both of us.
Through the chair, thank you, Mr. Jones. My question and concern was more focused not on the philosophical concept of being close to students, but more on the safety issue. And my apologies, I should have.
Sorry, could you be a little bit more specific? Just so
safety regarding the times of day and a lot of gathering of students waiting for the bus or coming off the bus, and on inclement weather days, that particular area used to be an area, at least when I picked up my son, on inclement weather days, the former business that was there, the veterinary clinic, a number of parents would park their cars there and wait for 2 minutes or 5 minutes for their children to come off the bus. And I was just wondering if that would coincide with maybe a peak time that you would have customers.
Oh, I'm sure it would be fine. Like that parking lot's pretty big. Like if someone wanted to park their car and wait there, I don't think that would be a problem. But obviously,
And from a safety perspective, I was thinking more if there was 10 or 12 students there and 5 or 6 parents picking them up, that can be very congested in an extremely short period of time. But based on your proposed hours of business, I see where at least you wouldn't have customers there at that time.
Yeah, I honestly don't think though, like the morning time we're going to avoid, and then the afternoon time, I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be a busy time at the store. And then obviously, like I think the busier times will probably be in the summer when there is no school. It's the same thing with my stores here in Ontario, like the winter, like even this week, or I guess last week when we had a really big snowstorm, like a bunch of my stores just shut down. And we did open them up for a couple of days because of how much snow there was. So if the weather is really bad, we don't open. And then obviously if it's, I don't think we're gonna have a lot of people coming into that parking lot during that time. And then if there was something we could do, if there was an influx of customers at the same time when people were over there, I guess, picking up their children, then we would figure out some way to satisfy both sides. Like I don't want a bunch of people just driving in a lineup of cars all at one time, and we would advise customers to park somewhere else if they needed to. So if there was like a lineup of cars, we would just tell people to come back later or to park somewhere else and walk.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jones.
Thanks.
Any more questions, Jim?
Not at this time.
No. Philip?
What, you gave us the hours you were talking about being open. How many days a week would you intend to be open?
So usually what I find is we would be open 7 days a week, similar to most retail stores. But obviously, if we found that Mondays we have no customers and we're spending more money on having 2 people working all day, then if we spend $500 to keep the store open, but we sell $100 worth of products, then we would just adjust our hours accordingly. But I believe part of the Cannabis New Brunswick regulations that we have to be open. There's a certain number of hours we do have to be open, so we would be open 7 days a week, but then we would adjust our hours accordingly depending on how busy we are. But generally speaking, it would be 7 days a week, and then usually on Sundays we close earlier. And then usually like the busier days are Thursday, Friday, Saturday are usually the busier days. Sunday is usually the slowest day, and then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are also fairly slow. So the peak times are usually Thursday, Friday, Saturday, similar to I guess if people are buying alcohol to consume at home or to bring to a friend's house.
But you would close at 9 p.m.?
Yeah, depending on the day. So I think it would be, like I'm thinking right now, it would probably be Monday to Saturday, 11 a.m. to, let's say, 8 or 9 p.m. And then Sundays, probably 12 p.m. to about 8 p.m. But it is subject to change. Like I have a store in Ontario that closes at 6:30 on Mondays. So it really depends on, I guess, volume of sales. Like if people aren't coming in after a certain time, like if the town kind of shuts down at midnight, then we're gonna adjust our hours and close earlier as well. So it usually takes a couple months of being open before you can really see what sales are gonna be, and it takes time for people to know that you're open, and things like that. So it's a balance between that and then also making sure we satisfy the regulations that come with operating under Cannabis New Brunswick, because they do have requirements as well in terms of us being open. And then holidays as well, those vary. Like some stores that I have are open some holidays and some are closed. So yeah, those days, holidays vary as well.
Just a comment, Mr. Jones, through the chair. The area of the town that you're proposing this, your operation, is in the part of the town that was amalgamated 25 years ago, which was a former village of Westfield. And if I'm not mistaken, there's, in that part of our current town, there's only two retail commercial operations. One is the golf course and one is a country store.
That's in Grand Bay. Westfield's farther.
Yes, so the area is just at the border, very close to the to an area of the town that is not used to having a lot of businesses. But when you mentioned that you had restrictions from the provincial government on proximity to schools and to churches, there wasn't very much left with. Is that correct?
Yeah, if I showed you a map with, where we can actually open up the store and it's available, it's extremely challenging. Like even if, you go on a real estate website and you look up, Grand Bay commercial spot for lease, there's probably going to be like maybe one spot if you're lucky. So it's, I think if there was any spot in town I picked, I think the same concerns that all of you brought up were going to come up, like, children and traffic and all that. I think, no matter the location, I think all those concerns are still going to come up. But, I think in terms of the varying degree of, what's a better location than others in terms of, making sure that it's like a safe location and all that. I think the location that, we've picked is the best in terms of, in terms of safety and, meeting the regulations. So I think that, it is very tough to find locations in some of these towns.
Thank you.
So that really factored in.
Thank you very much, sir.
Andrew, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Jones?
I have questions.
Okay, stand up at the podium, state your name and
Sure.
address.
Hi, my name's Teresa Gordon and I am a resident of Grand Bay. And as well, Chris, I am the PAC member who did recuse themselves from voting tonight. But I do appreciate, I actually did a little research on you and you do have a successful business in Ontario. I was pleased to actually listen to a radio interview that you had as well. I forget what the guy's name was, Michael something or other, but I did appreciate actually learning that you did start with, you've been in the industry in California and then you came to Ontario and opening your own businesses. So I do appreciate that and I can understand that you do have a lot of business experience with cannabis, but I don't live very far from the location that you're looking at and I was a little concerned about the safety or security from the fact that it is primarily it is a residential area with one commercial business, one commercially zoned lot in that area. So I was concerned about the safety of your staff. So is your intention to only have one employee on staff at a time? On site, sorry.
Well, thank you for your question, and thanks for actually, doing the research and looking into that. I'm actually a professor as well in Ontario, so I teach at a college, a few different business courses and cannabis classes. So I'm, wearing a lot of different hats. I'm glad you actually took the time to look into that. So in terms of staff working, we're going to be having 2 people working at all times. So generally, what we see is we'll have one person kind of hovering around the front door. So if someone opens the door who's underage, get their ID checked, and if it's a fake ID or if they don't have an ID and they look young, then they don't get let in. So there'll be someone kind of hovering around the front door, and there'll be someone else working in the back area, kind of like just talking products and helping out whatever customers in the store. And then so part of the regulations, we have to have security cameras everywhere. So we'll have a cameras all around the building, cameras on the inside, so there's if you worked at any store or gas station or whatever, you're gonna experience angry customers from time to time. As long as the staff are trained properly and are able to de-escalate the situation, and that's what's the most important. But the safety of staff is number one. Like the safety of staff, not selling to anyone underage or anyone intoxicated. Like those are things that we take very very seriously. I would never ever want anything to happen to any of my staff members, which hasn't happened luckily in any of my stores. But if there was ever a staff member that didn't feel safe or anything like that, then we would just either have another person working as well. So any accommodations we need to make in terms of making staff feel safer, then we do that. And I think having I don't know if any of you in any cannabis stores, but the packaging is usually really really big. So having such a small store, we have a limited product assortment. So generally, like for stores that own Ontario that probably have like $1 million worth of product in their store at one time, and probably a few $100,000 in cash. My stores are completely the opposite. We do bank deposits every 2 or 3 days. So cash is usually the minimum. And then obviously with COVID, even thinking about all of you right now, I'm sure most of your purchases are with card and not with cash. So even right now, I think about 90% of our purchases are through electronic card versus cash. And then so we have a minimum amount of cash at the store. Usually it's only $3,000 at a time at most. And then in terms of how much product we have, $10,000 to $15,000 worth of product. So I think once having that, it's generally not probably the worst place to try and steal from, because you don't really have a lot of money. The packages are really big, and it's gonna take you a while to get them out. And there's security cameras everywhere, and we have to there's pretty strict requirements through cannabis New Brunswick in terms of security. That's a very big there's a lot of things we have to do to make sure the store is secure.
Okay, thank you.
We have 30 days worth of storage footage on security cameras as well. So yeah, security is something we take very seriously. If there was any if anything ever happened in the store, obviously we don't want that to happen, but we'll make any accommodation needed, and luckily we train our staff well enough here in Ontario, which we will do over there in New Brunswick to make sure that everyone feels safe as well.
Okay, thank you. So I did hear you say, so you said that you're looking at the lower floor, not the, okay.
Yeah, exactly the lower floor.
Okay, and I was curious about the signage. So as far as the signage, so I saw your Cannabis Express or Express Cannabis, nice, against the building. I'm just curious about your signage there at the Grand Bay location.
That's a good question. The signage for that building is going to be very, very difficult because if you're in that parking lot, you're looking in front of the building, it looks like a house. And obviously, if you're living in the house, you don't want a gigantic illuminated sign right beside your front door. So what we're probably going to do is, so there's a pylon sign, I believe, at that location. So we'll have our name on the pylon sign, and then we're probably going to have arrows or something like that, something to show people how to get to the store is that you go to the back. So we'll probably have a small sign on the side of the building. We'll probably have a small, more informational sign on the front of the building, just telling people to go to the right and not go to the front door. And then we'll probably just have some arrows or some of those A-frame sandwich signs, kind of directing people how to get to the store.
Okay.
And I've experienced this as well in Ontario, where people don't know where to go. I get the front door of the store, but it's it just takes education. I think most people they might be slightly confused at first about where's the store, but then once they figure it out once, then for next time. So it's, yeah, the signage will be interesting. It won't be like the stores in Ontario where I have a big illuminated sign on the front, just because the front of the building is one person at the front door of the person who might live there. So yeah, a sign on the side of the building with some arrows directing them to the back, and then we'll utilize the pylon sign as well.
Okay, thank you. Just wondering about customer capacity. So if you have 2 employees, it's a pretty small retail space. I guess I'm stuck on the idea that there's a possibility that upstairs could be used for another use. I'm just wondering about how many more people are gonna be in the area. So
So I have a store in Brampton, which is my busiest store. So that store is, it's 350 square feet, and there's about 80 square feet of retail space. So 80 square feet compared to about 250 with this location. And that store in Brampton sees about 1 person every 5 minutes throughout the whole day. So it's generally, I think there would be an effort to have a bunch of people in the store, but I don't think there's the store is going to be that busy where there's going to be like a lineup or anything like that.
right.
Okay. Part of the whole business model of the name of the business is Cannabis Express. That the whole idea is just to get people to enter and leave as fast as possible. And since we have such a limited assortment of products, that also helps as well. Like if you ever go to the Cheesecake Factory or like a restaurant where it was like 20 pages, it's it takes forever to make a decision when there's so many items. So having a limited assortment of items helps us get people in there as fast as possible.
Right.
So that's
Okay.
the store is small, but I don't think that there's there's gonna be 1,000 people in line waiting. Like I think when we first opened, it'll obviously
But the door isn't.
the store in town if you can only one, so I think there'll generally be more excitement at the beginning, and then we'll probably just have more staff working at the beginning to make sure that there's not the line up, and then people are parking everywhere, things like that. So it's not like we'll have just people working in the store at the beginning. We'll have I'll be there as well. We'll have more people working outside just to make sure that there's no lineup and people are parking everywhere and there's no safety issues like that. I mean, obviously, after that initial excitement, it'll die down, and then you'll just have the regular customers that'll come in.
Okay, thank you. So you had mentioned that you don't think that there are any issues in the residential areas of your existing stores. So are you talking about, so the area that you're looking at, I know there is one apartment building across the street, but every other dwelling, I think, around there is a single family dwelling. Just curious if any of your existing stores, if you're talking about, is it multifamily or is it, I guess, Chris, the one thing I'm curious about is the viability of a business that far away from the Grand Bay commercial core. I'm worried about it. I'm an accountant. So I do wonder about like traffic studies, business plan, like you're gonna have, obviously cannabis is a draw on its own. But I guess I'm just a little curious about with it being in a primarily single dwelling residential area, if you've already encountered that in Ontario.
Well, I think there's pros and cons of this, right? I think being in a mostly residential area, it's helpful being close to where people live, and people see the store, they'll find out that it's there. Maybe they won't drive there since it might be closer for them to walk. But yeah, I think when I evaluated, like I built different financial models to figure out, where to open a store, what's the population, how much money can the store make. I think in this scenario, I have a little bit more flexibility because we are going to be the only store in town pretty much forever. I don't know if Cannabis New Brunswick is going to start issuing more applications for people in other towns. but I don't think they're ever going to allow. I don't think they're going to allow another store to open up in these towns unless the population significantly increases and another store makes sense to have. So I think I have a little bit more, I guess, flexibility in terms of not having the most ideal location because we are going to be building one there. But at the beginning of what you said, like I have a store. If you can think about just like a very big area of houses and then like a little convenience store in the middle, that's pretty much what kind of store I'm talking about. It's in a town by the water in Ontario, and we're like it's us.
Okay.
Beside a dentist who does dentures, and we're in the middle of like a gigantic residential area. In the town where we're not near anything else, it's literally us plus this dentist who does dentures. And it's honestly handy. Like a lot of what they just do, a lot of seniors study for they buy topicals, for like aches and pains and things like that. But I don't think there's going to be issues being near
Okay.
residential homes. Like it's going back to like what's actually available to the store. It's it's very very challenging to find a location that met all of the criteria, not being too close to certain things. So. And the other point I want to throw out there is if a better location does open up in the future, like say a year from now, there's a much better location. I do have the ability to likely change locations to somewhere else, but right now there's nothing else available, and this is like the only spot that meets all of the criteria. So maybe in the future if there's a better spot, we could potentially move somewhere else. But right now it's it was just very tough to find a location that met all of the
Right.
criteria that we needed to.
I guess the only challenge with that though is if you sign on for a 1-year lease or however long, you are, I'll say, stuck at the location. It's a bad choice of words, but. David, I am curious from a town perspective, because it is in a primarily residential area, if the town has done any research on the property values of homes. Obviously, cannabis, New Brunswick is not the right venue to use, but I'm just wondering if there's been any studies on property values.
I do an immense amount of research on that, and the property values of the homes will not go down. Like, it's like if a liquor store opened up near you, I don't think the property values are going to go down. So having this business is definitely not going to make them go down.
No, it's not so much. It's not so much. I guess I'm just more concerned about the whole idea of retail period, because it was a service business and the service business closed. So I worry about if you leave it and then it looks messy, like the. Yeah. Okay. I think I may have gone through all my questions, and I think I have all the answers that I was looking for.
Yeah, I'm sure more questions will come up, in the future, and I'm going to be like, I come out to New Brunswick every month right now, and obviously once the store opens, I'm going to be out there a lot more frequently. So I'm sure I'll meet everyone in person as well, and I'm, an email, phone call away to answer anything. I'm very easy to reach. So if anything else does come up, like I'm happy to answer anything, and obviously look forward to meeting everyone in person. One day.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So that's the end of my questions, but I'm not the only one here. I know anyone else has questions.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak in favor of the motion, of the application?
Can you be neutral?
I got asked 3 times, and then I asked for the negative. Is there anybody else that wants to speak in favor of the application? And
I'm not allowed to, right?
just No, you already said your piece. Anybody else that would like to speak in favor of the motion? And if not, is there anybody who would like to speak against the motion? If so, come to the podium, state your name, your address, and you have 10 minutes, please. Again, is there anybody that wants to speak against the motion? And third and final time, is there anybody that wants to speak against the motion? If not, is there any more questions for Mr. Jones from the committee? All right. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll move that the Planning and Advisory Committee grant approval for the conditional use of the cannabis retail sales for the property located at 441 Woolstock Drive, PID 00210187, as being in conformity with the planning and zoning requirements of the town of Grand Bay-Westfield, where the operation of cannabis retail sales outlet will comply with all standards and requirements in accordance with the Cannabis Control Act, the Cannabis Management Corporation Act, and the regulations under those acts.
Seconder?
I'll second it for the vote.
Seconded by Councillor Jim Belton. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Mr. Jones, your application has been approved. And you and David can sort out all the stuff from here on in, I guess. You'll be doing emails and conversations in the near future, and I guess we will run into you someday in the near future.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I think, I think it's a win-win for both of us. Like having, opened up this many stores and run this business for this long, I think, not many people have that type of experience. So, I'm looking forward to meeting everyone, and happy to answer any questions anytime. So, hopefully see everyone soon, and thank you again for your time today.
All right, thank you. Have a good evening. All right, everybody, item number 8 is adjournment. Seconder?
Second.
Everybody's all in favor, I know that.